guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dream Catch Hustle with
Nadirah
and Fila.
So for today's episode, Struggling to Success,
A good one.
we have an amazing guest.
We absolutely do. One of my great friends, college roommates almost, because we almost lived at her apartment some of the time, and the CEO and founder of Stuyvesant Champagne, Miss Marvina S. Robinson. Hey girl.
Hey girl, hey.
Welcome.
Thank you ladies for having me. I really do appreciate it. I'm very excited. You gave like a really phenomenal introduction. It's like, what do I say now?
Well, I'm excited to get to the champagne, but we'll do
Yes.
that later.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about who Marvina S. Robinson is, and a little bit, not too much,
Okay.
about Stuyvesant Champagne.
Okay, so Marvina S. Robinson is the founder and CEO of Stuyvesant Champagne. Stuyvesant Champagne actually launched publicly last year, February of 2020, and it's been a whirlwind. So I'm really excited about the brand. More about myself, I worked in Wall Street for 20 years. That's where I thought I was going to be, where I wanted everything to end. I knew I was retiring from Wall Street. I knew that I wanted to be a managing director. Like, being an entrepreneur was not in my vision. I was more like, I ain't go to school for that. Like, I'm focused. So, but I'm so happy where, God has led me to, be my person, because I can say this is the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
Well, that's excellent. So I must ask you. So when Fila did the initial introduction, she's like, hey, listen, we need to have Marvina on a podcast. To hear of a woman champagne brand business owner was totally amazing to me, first of all. So how did you even get started, and like what even made you think champagne?
Yeah.
That's such a cool story. So one, lover of bubbles from early days, which Fowler knows. We won't talk about that before. Two, I wanted to open up. I am opening up a champagne bar post-COVID. And I wanted to have a house bubbles, right? I previously owned a cafeteria in Brooklyn on Myrtle Avenue. And originally my process was, okay, I'm just gonna sell beer and wine. So my landlord, wasn't really feeling me or giving me a hard time, because I had like over 5,000 signatures. And I just decided, I'm just gonna close shop and
To be able to serve the alcohol in the cafe?
Yeah. Like when you rent in New York, if you don't own the property, the commercial property, you have to get approval from your landlord. Because I invested so much money in this building or in this space, it was marble, everything was really pretty. He didn't think that I would walk away, so he thought he had me. And sometimes you just have to cut your losses short and get the blessings on the other side. And that's where it really led me to how the champagne began to develop. One thing about me is when I did start my business, I funded myself. Like, I saved my money, God willing, I was great to have a great career financially, saved my money, funded my businesses. And what I did was, before I knew I wanted to open the champagne bar, I spent the summer, the year before, doing pop-up bars called Champagne and Things. And that actually developed also to a champagne cocktail catering business, which again wasn't on my plan. So I began to have these corporate clients, and then I had
just
this
coming
pop-up,
through.
and it was like, okay, this is going.
Let me say this, right? Because I do know you a little bit personally, but looking at your trajectory, your journey, and the brand that you've established now, right? People might really think, wow, she's a badass. And you really are. 20 years on Wall Street, then opening the cafe, then transitioning to Stuyvesant. And like you said, none of it was in your plans. So I want you to tell us a little bit about the journey of being one of the only Black women champagne brands in the world, how you got started, and what was your process in moving through all those steps.
Well, I'm going to correct you on one thing. I'm not the only, because there's always other people out there. So
Absolutely.
I always like to say one of the few, because people will chime in real quick, very quickly, right? It sounds really glorious coming out your mouth, right? But behind the scenes, it's so much stress, like so many tears, so many blockers, so many people not believing in you, so many people doubting you, so many people thinking, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. And that for me just gives me ammunition. Oh, I'm going to do this. And as a woman, we're emotional sometimes. And I'm a thick-skinned individual, so most of the time I'm good with like throwing things off, like I don't really care. But when it comes to the brand and me launching, And me getting there, I was like really stressing myself out because I'm like, I gotta get this done. I've gotta push myself. I've gotta figure this out. So like you stated earlier, how did I get started, right?
Right.
Of course, to be Champagne, you have to come from the Champagne region of France. So that it starts there. Did I have any contacts?
She's
No.
official.
Yeah,
Exactly. She went to France.
Yes.
I went to France. And I partied in France. I had a good time in France. Let me tell you, like, I made sure I did business and I had a whole lot of pleasure in France.
Okay.
So, I would say, like, I had to go to France. I did meet up with one person. He actually cracked the door for me. I met this. He was a friend of a friend of a friend. Met him in France, and I was like, okay, I want to meet up with them. But I was just doing my own thing. I'm like, oh, let me just get them out the way. So I'm like almost 2 hours late to this place. So I walk in.
And you were traveling to France, in France, alone.
Oh yeah, listen, I'm a solo traveler. I could go as long as I know I'm safe.
Who was back home with the special set of skills just in case something happened?
Oh, my girlfriend Taisha, she has the locator on my phone to know where I'm at all times. My aunt would call me all day, like every hour. Where you at? What you doing? Okay. And it would be 5 o'clock and fresh. She'd be like, "You still outside?" I'm like, "Yeah." "You so stupid. Take your butt in the hotel." You know, like now I'm 30 plus, almost. I'm about 40 years old. Like she's like, "You so stupid. You just want to get snatched." You didn't see that movie?
That's everybody's auntie.
Right? She's like, "Well, call me when you get in the house. I'm gonna be waiting up." I'm looking like, "Waiting up?" She's like, "I'm waiting for you to get back in the hotel."
And you was partying.
I would call her, "Hey, I'm in the hotel." "I know you lying." I said, "Yes, I am." And my mom would check on me, but you know, I would check in. I think,
that's good.
yeah. One time I didn't check in because I was having fun. My mother was like, "What's going on? Can't find you." I'm like, "Oh no, yeah." She's like, "Okay, just check in." And then I went to meet these gentlemen. Well, I went to meet one. He brought his friend. So we're hanging out. So I went out. I'm like, okay, we can hang out. I was like, okay, let me just get this over. 15 minutes, 2 drinks, and I'm out because I got plans. So I get there, you know, eye candy night. I'm like, oh, let me just hang out a little more. And this probably was the beginning, the best night because we literally bar hopped until 5 o'clock in the morning. And then we were sitting outside eating crepes on the sidewalk, and we're just talking. He's actually opened a bar in Congo, and he's like, "Well, what's your?" So we're swapping stories, views, and thoughts.
Right.
So I was like, "Okay, so what?" He's like, "What ultimately do you want for your bar?" I was like, "You know, I want my own house brand." He said, "Well, you're in France." I said, I said, "I know where I'm at." And he's like, "You're so sweet." You know, he's like, "You're smarty pants." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I can
I'm
make
from Brooklyn."
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, he said, "I can make an introduction for you." I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great."
Just like that.
And it happened out easy though.
Okay.
So when I drink, sometimes I forget things. I write things on my hand. So the next morning when I woke up, I'm like, you know, doing my morning stuff. I'm like, shit. So I call him. He's like, "We just got in 2-3 hours ago." I'm like, "Well, how much sleep you need? I want to talk about this." He's like,
Time to go. Like.
right. He's like, Marvina, we just got in. He's like, "Can you give me like?" He's like, "I'm gonna get up later on." I'm like, "How much later?" I'm like, "Come on." I said, "Come to the hotel. You know, we'll have breakfast downstairs." He's like, "All right, let's meet up around 2-3 o'clock." I'm like, "Oh no, 2-3 o'clock. Like, let's go."
Too late. Let's
He's
go
like,
now.
"Just give me 2 more hours." I literally 2 hours. "Hey, you up now?" He was like, "No." I said, "Well, get up. Let's go." I said, "I can pay for your cab." He's like, "I don't need to pay for my cab." He's like, "I'm getting dressed. I'm on my way." So he came over. We talked, cracking jokes, started drinking again, and you know, we just hung out like throughout the whole time in France. And then when I got back to the States, I was like, "Hey, I'm serious." So we started the conversation. Conversation started by email, by phone. The main contact person didn't speak English. I didn't speak French, so he always had to be on the phone. So he was my translator, and I started taking trips. And like my first major trip, we went out there, and it was just business. You know, we had translated, Google Translate.
Yeah.
So I got the first information, meeting with the first vineyard, kind of explaining my views. Now, Fila knows me in detail. So when I start talking, it's like, okay, keep up with me. I want to talk fast too. I like have vision. So like I was like all over the room, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this. So things like that. So he, you know, some people, they were like, you know, I could tell they wasn't like on board 100%, but they was on board. So I was like, okay, let me, I'm gonna still feel
Was
it
that
out.
process a struggle for you, right? Because we're talking about the struggles, and you mentioned some of them.
Oh, the struggles was language barrier, people really being able to produce what I wanted to produce, and financing, because I didn't have any loans, no investors or anything, so I had to finance this myself. So there's things that I had to do, I had to cut back on, like for instance, when I initially launched the brand, I couldn't afford customized corks. So guess what? It's still champagne, right? We can put them generic corks right in there. Foils, you know, some foils were generic. Now, our newer bottles, they're not here, but our newer bottles are fully customized all the way.
Okay, great.
So, you know, some people always think it has to be picture perfect.
In the beginning.
It doesn't.
We always think that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be picture perfect. It has to be quality, right? And it still has to be visually beautiful. So
Absolutely.
that's what I always
And
think
that
about.
perfection is what slows us down from getting it done.
Because you also have to get the nicks out. When I did my labels, I was all over the place. So I went through two, even though they look the same, I was all over the place because you think about it. Some people don't think about the details that go behind it. It has to be waterproof, you know? It has to, you know, I don't like a lot of gaudiness. I'm really like laid back. I like really plain stuff. Like I said, it's stuff diamond and rough. So I wanted it to feel like suede. I wanted it to be raised. I had to find a good...
Wait a minute. Because sis just said, I'm not extra.
But she wanted to feel like suede.
But she wanted to feel like suede, and she wanted the raised lettering. Okay, I'm not mad.
A little bit, you know. So listen, I had generic foil, so I had to make it pop somewhere else.
So let me ask you. So I'm in like total awe. So we definitely gonna have to talk behind the scenes as well because again, starting a champagne brand, like that's excellent for a black woman to do. Even though you said that you're one of few, you're the only one that I know. So let me ask you this. So now that you're public and everything is popping, you have your custom made everything. How do you find the time to do everything? So who's a part of your team?
So time is the main thing, and I don't have a lot of time. So sometimes I'm selfish with my time. I am about my me time. My day starts like around 3-4 o'clock in the morning because I have to talk to the venue, or I'm always behind an email. So this is the time that I have to like jump on them to do so.
So you are living in New York, but on Parisian time.
Yes, exactly. If COVID wasn't here, I wouldn't be here because my plan last year was to split my time. So I found an apartment and everything in France.
Wow.
But with COVID, you know, all that exited out. So once travel reopens again and I feel safe, then I'm going to like begin to split my time again because I've been here a very long time.
You ready to be out?
I'm ready to be out but the good thing is I'm putting the foundation here so that when I do leave, my team can still run things. So things happen for a reason. So back to your original question, who's my team? One, we just recently rented office space in Brooklyn, Bedford Stuyvesant.
Good for you.
Thank you. Finally just getting it together because the peak holiday season was so big, so busy, we couldn't keep up. I have a staff of, or I'm supposed to have a staff of 3.
Okay.
What does that mean? Supposed to.
I had to downsize somebody else, but we're about to bring somebody else on board. And I start everybody from the same level. For me, I think it's very important that I know how to do everything in the office.
Right.
And I feel like other people should know how to do almost everything. Nobody's gonna have my job. Nobody's gonna have full insight of everything that I have. But when I bring individuals in, my goal is for them to learn. It's just not to come here. Everybody wants to go somewhere and get a check, right? I did the same thing. But when I speak to, it's like being in a relationship because it's office space. So therefore, I don't have walls up. Everything's open. People have desks. So we all share this space together. But I also want my team to be proactive. Kind of, if you want to learn the business, learn it. If you want to just come here and get your check, just do your job well. I'm open for that. But I'm also for, teaching, training, learning, so people can take a skill set that here, whether it's their career or not, go somewhere else and do that. I have people I bounce ideas off of, which is my girlfriends, close friends that I work with. It's your army of people, your circle of people, because as an entrepreneur, you can't pay everybody. Like I can't pay. I'm not like y'all, so I can't pay like everybody.
Not at the moment. No, not at the moment. You can't.
Not at the moment. I can't. Even if I wanted to, I can't because for me, it's all about budgeting, and that's the whole thing. So,
but what you said is really important, right? And when Nadirah is coming from a very strategic place of who's on your team, right? Who's positioned and who's working. But sometimes when you don't have the money for a team, because we're talking about the struggle, you have to ask your mom and your auntie and your best friends and the people who are in your support system already.
And guess what? That's exactly what was going on. When I was getting orders, like I would ask my sister, can you pick up the boxes? One thing that we do is I have champagne tote bag, which is actually about to release next month. The first time we did it, we had over 100 orders, which was exceeded my expectations. expectations.
Wow.
That's good.
Thank
Yes.
you. So now came for bagging. We had an assembly line in my mom's house. So mom was
Just took over
board.
mom's living room.
Yep, and then she started running that portion for me. She would print out the cards. We had somebody taking the bags, tie the bags up, tuck the what do you call those things? The toe straps or whatever. Tuck the toe straps. Somebody put it in. Somebody sealed an envelope. Somebody put the envelope in the thing. Somebody checked the name off the list. So we had a serious, thing going on in my mother's room.
Yeah.
But see, that's how it always starts.
Absolutely.
I had to go to my best friend and say, hey, listen, I need you to get your real estate license. Can you do it now, like tomorrow?
Because I need some agents.
Exactly. And your children are helping you with the assembly line.
Absolutely. Even my 8-year-old is an employee of the family business, right?
And
so
that's how
everyone
it's
has to help
be. And my
chip
friends
in.
helped me. Like, even when I did my first Bubbles and Brunch.
This is the pop-up.
So I have a book coming out, which is Cooking with Champagne. So we use different...
Excuse us.
So the first show was stuffed champagne-infused French toast.
Okay, this was the
that
virtual
sounds nice.
brunch.
Yes.
With Stuyvesant.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes. And guess who was doing the Zoom?
You.
Zuli. I mean, not Zuli. What's her name? Lori.
Wow. So just bringing the family members in. Come on
so,
in.
And I was just like, I'm going to be doing this. Who's going to do the Zoom? Okay,
Wow.
you're going to do the Zoom. So that's how it all happens. And then
Kudos to you though for being able to ask for help.
Right.
Because that's the reason why a lot of women entrepreneurs and women in general struggle longer than they need to, because we feel like we're supposed to be able to do it on our own, our pride. So for you to say, listen, I need some help, y'all come in here, that says a lot about you and your character as well.
But I have to be, I don't always ask for help. I will say that's one of my downfalls. I don't always ask for help. Sometimes I'll just have to figure it out and stuff it out myself, and I'll just say it is what it is. I will say, like, for example, the other day, like, we didn't have a pickup from FedEx, and I had to put that stuff in my car, and I had to drop off 60 packages by myself. And I went to a new FedEx thinking because it was open later, and it had stairs. I was like, what in the... Every curse word was flying.
Of course.
I was like, the steam coming out my ears. I literally did like 40 trips up and down those stairs, and I was just like...
And these are the behind the scenes struggles.
These are things you
that
don't know.
But I always
exactly.
say no one works harder at getting a business off the ground than we do.
Yep.
Like,
And no one will.
And it's still a lot of work. Like, people think, oh, you've been getting a lot of airtime, this business is spreading. I still got a whole bunch of nonsense behind the scenes that I'm trying to clear up, and then there's always something else, and then it's like I'm getting behind in some of my personal goals for the business because we get pulled in different directions.
Yeah.
So it's also about time management, which I'm terrible at right now. Like, I have people, hey, I'm waiting for this. Hey, I'm waiting for this. Like, I see their name pop up in the email, and I just close my thing like
I'm not doing it.
I'd be like, my assistant is really good, and she'll be like, oh, we have to do this. I'm like, I know all
Not
those
right
names.
now, right?
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this. She's like, but we have to. I'm like, I'll circle back. I said, I'll do it tomorrow. She'll be like, you said that last week.
Well, I want to talk about some of your recent successes.
Okay, let's
because
talk.
you've given us the story, and we see that there are struggles every single day, not just the major struggles. But a week or so ago, you got some really big news, some really good news, something really exciting happened for Stuyvesant Champagne, and it had to do with an extremely large musical platform. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So B Stuyvesant Champagne Grand Reserve was actually featured in the Grammy box for.
Yay!
Yeah, I was excited. Like, thank you. And it's so funny when that order came in. It was a last minute. I had to turn everything around in a day, and I had to do everything by myself because it was on the weekend. I didn't want to pull. My staff has families, kids, so I don't like to impose because I feel like they work Monday through Friday. We work long days. I don't want to be that person. So I said, I'm gonna do it by myself. I didn't ask anybody for help, but I said I think I could do this out real quick and knock this out. That was an all-day job. It was like 8 hours to get everything done.
Wow.
But when I was done, I was like, okay, whew, done. But I think the success behind it, like seeing the boxes, I didn't know anything. They don't tell you anything. They just say, hey, we need this, we're doing this, we'll let you know. I'm like, all right, whatever you do with it, you do with it.
And you don't see it until the product is finished.
Exactly. I don't even ask for it because I feel like, what it's paid for is no longer my product.
Well, what did you think, right? Did you have a moment where you said like, wow, I've really made it, this is success?
This is
Right?
exciting.
Yeah, this is a big
great
deal.
news.
I don't know. Like I don't feel like I'm successful.
Not yet?
Not yet. No, I feel like I have a lot more to do. Though my friend always reminded me to indulge in certain moments. So
Yes.
I was excited when I saw the finished product of the box. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh.
This is dope.
And you know what's funny? I didn't even find it. My friend called me the day and she was like, yo, DJ Khaled's on Snapchat with your champagne. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm like, I don't got Snapchat.
That's a big deal.
I'm like, I don't got Snapchat. I'm like, send it to me. She's like, you gotta have Snapchat. I'm like, I don't got it. She's like, download it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm like, Snapchat.
Now
I'm
you're
like,
in
what
old
do I
lady
do?
mode.
Like, oh my, what do I do now? So now she's like, go here. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Then when I realized it was also on his Instagram.
Wow.
So that's how I discovered that that's the box that it went into. And then from there, it started to play out. I saw it in, I forgot his name.
Just everywhere.
Yeah, I started
all
seeing
over
the box.
internet.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. Then the PR firm actually sent me the official pictures.
Nice.
So I was excited about that. So I'm like, the brand is moving. Certain things I post, certain things I don't post, certain things are private. But the brand is actually moving well. We have a lot of corporate orders, which I'm so thankful for. That people are trusting us or trusting the brand to be their champagne alternative or their champagne preference. So I'm just like, okay, like this better not stop because I'm all in, you know.
Well,
Can you
speaking
drop
of,
well, I was actually going to ask for some champagne gems. Can
Yes.
you show us how to open up a bottle of champagne the correct way?
Okay. Somebody shook up the bottle when they was bringing it
Oh,
over.
then I don't
so
want that one.
I won't say who, but behind the scenes.
yes, I've been waiting for this part the whole show.
We could have been sipping and talking. Wait a minute, it's only 2 glasses.
Right?
Who's exiting to the left? Me?
We gotta get you a glass. We're gonna
Yes,
bring
we're
you a
gonna get
glass
you
over. So now, educate us,
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry.
So when we're opening the bottle, we're supposed to hold it,
Yeah.
turn it. What do we do?
Okay, I'm gonna get there.
I'm rushing you, girl.
Okay, no, so one, remove the foils. That's like first thing, right?
Okay.
I get so nervous when people open champagne. Like, I'd be like, ooh, don't open that over there. You know, 'cause I don't want to be that person. So I'd be like,
Get your eye taken out.
I'd be like smiling, but TP gritting, like, oh, she ain't doing it right. I'm like,
See, that's me because that's always my luck. I'm like this. She said somebody shook it.
Let me move it.
so one, I always take the foil off. Sorry, I'm just
Okay.
jumping this up. I always like to place my thumb over it because what happens is once you release the wire, this can just fly off. Right?
Got you. So we should take the foil off. Always have our
Like
thumb
you see,
on the
you
top.
See? You see?
I see it.
You see it?
And
So
it's already coming
it's
up.
coming.
Just point that way.
No. So what you want to do? I have this big ring on. So you see how I'm holding? I'm not even doing nothing. So
Yes.
the thumb is what really actually controls the pressure. You want to hold it from the base of the bottle,
Okay.
and then you just want to turn it, and you actually control it.
So I've been doing it wrong all this time. Ooh, I love it.
So that's how it is. You know, people have that big corks out. thumb.
Yes.
So sometimes, I mean, if you want that, you want it. It's cool. But you notice if I wouldn't have had my thumb over the wire cage, it just would have popped off.
Right.
And we would have broke a light bulb.
And listen, that's how I just let it come up and come out and hope it doesn't bust me in the face.
I always hold my hands here,
Okay.
and then we're going to pour. I always like to tilt the glass a little bit.
Okay.
because of
Champagne
the
talk got me
bubbles.
feeling fancy.
Champagne gems, y'all.
Champagne. And I always, listen, you know I'm an undercover clown. So,
I love the color.
thank you.
And which version is this?
This is the Grand Reserve.
This is the Grand
This
Reserve.
is the most popular. This was actually featured in the New York Times in December.
Okay.
And this was voted number 2 by NBC after.
And you don't feel successful yet?
Listen, you took the words out of my mouth, Dara.
Thank you. This one's for you.
You see what they give me?
We got you covered. We got you covered.
Listen, back in the days, me and my girls used to sit on. Me and my girls used to sit right on Lefferts and drink out of the cheaper plastic cups with the rims on it. So you know what?
This one got some rose gold foil for you.
So there you go.
It smells good too.
Yeah, what I always tell people is one, you should always. I don't always tell people what to do.
Yes, you do.
But
you're the
Yes, you do.
professional.
Violet, come on, let's get on the bus. I always like to smell the cork. And then when you drink champagne, I like to drink from a wider wine glass because as you sip, I always like to smell the aroma of it because that's actually what's going to open up your senses and when you begin to take your first sip. So cheers, ladies.
And make it a whole experience.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is good.
Feeling loose already now.
This is delicious.
Thank you. And we have the full portfolios actually rolling out. We have our demi-sec arriving in 2 weeks.
It's so good.
Thank you. So demi-sec for the people that like the sweeter brands, we have Blanc de Blancs, all white grape. It's actually one of my favorites. We also have a limited edition of rosé for the summer. That's going to be available from May through October. Then we have a Premier Cru Brut coming in. It's actually late May.
So tell everyone how to order.
So you can visit my website, StuyvesantChampagne.com. Our e-commerce store is embedded in the website. We ship by Vino Shipper. You have the option to purchase and have it shipped, or you can come into our offices and pick it up. We also have our Instagram handles, which is Stuyvesant Champagne. Facebook is the same. Twitter, I can't remember right now. I'm sorry.
Everything. Y'all can Google
Just
it.
Google it, right?
Just Google it.
Just
right?
Google it.
But before you get out of here, we have a segment that we call Give You Some Game, where we want you to share your top 3 business tips, success tips, don't give up tips for business, for aspiring entrepreneurs, those who are still in either the dream, catch, or hustle stage. So what are your top 3 tips?
My top 3 tips is 1, make sure you have a really good laptop because you're always going to be on the go and you don't want to be stuck without having some technology around you. Number 2, I would say trust your instinct and do your research. Never just go on what somebody else says. Do your research and also look for alternatives. And number 3, I would just say make some time for yourself because that's been one of my mistakes is I neglected myself and then I threw everything in work and I neglected everybody around me. So sometimes that's not cool because you'll get those text messages, those calls, and that's it. So those are my three tips.
Those are great tips.
Thank
Those
you.
are.
Practical and realistic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we'll also ask you to name 1 Black woman business owner that you would like to highlight, give the spotlight to, and just shed some light on, let everyone know who she is.
I would say Kick New York. That's my girlfriend, Taisha Dulk. She does these amazing bomb camouflage jackets. She actually expanded her business to now do, I forgot what it was. What is that word called? Embroidery, sorry.
Okay.
Embroidery business. So I would say
So it's Kick New York.
Kick New
and what's
York.
her name?
Taisha Dulk. Like her business has expanded. She's very creative. When you see her pieces, it's like you always automatically do a double
The
take.
head turners?
Nice.
Yeah, the head turners. She made me a custom mask. When I first, a couple months ago, I had an ad in 42nd Street, and I had this custom champagne mask. And
She don't feel successful.
Exactly.
she made me a custom champagne mask, and every time I wear this mask, I get stopped. Like, where'd you get it from? Where'd you get it from? When she posted on her page, people from outside the United States is trying to order the same
Wow.
mask. So that's how good her work is. So yes.
Oh, we love that.
Shine a light on her now.
Yes, right? We love that so much. It's been such a pleasure having you, friend, having you CEO and founder. I absolutely love B. Stuyvesant Champagne.
Thank
You know
you.
how many bottles I've ordered, and I will continue to order. But thank you so much for being here.
Yay.
Thank you for sharing your journey and for
Yes.
inspiring our audience.
Thank you,
Yes,
ladies.
and
I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you for coming as well. I think that you're doing an amazing job just by going through your Instagram page and everything. So I thank you also for coming. And that's the end of this episode for Dream Catch Hustle, talking about struggling to success.
Yes.
Yay.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Bye.